Hello, and thank you for watching this video about how to reply to other students in your Lesson 4 discussion, Full Speed Ahead for California. Before I explain how to reply to other students, first I want to talk about what a discussion is. If I look up the definition of the word discussion, I see the action or process of talking about something in order to reach a decision or exchange ideas. Another definition is a conversation or debate about a certain topic. If I look up the definition of conversation, I see a talk between two or more people in which news and ideas are exchanged. A third definition of discussion is a detailed treatment of a particular topic in speech or writing. So, when we do science discussions, think about how you are having a conversation with other students about a science topic in detail. You are sharing ideas, making decisions, debating, having agreements and disagreements, and building knowledge. The purpose of these online science discussion assessments is to exchange ideas in order to learn more about a topic from one another. It is good practice for explaining your ideas to others and learning to understand what others have to say and come up with productive responses. Keep this in mind as you move forward and complete discussions in science class. So now we know what a discussion is and what its purpose is. So let's talk about the purpose of replying to other students in these discussion assessments. The purpose is to continue the science conversation. Imagine that you are talking in person and taking turns discussing an idea. One person starts the conversation, and then each person following continues the science conversation. Each person should be sharing new scientific ideas that no one else has mentioned yet, or possibly not even thought of. There may be some debate. Students may disagree with each other and explain why. Hopefully, there will be some asking and answering of scientific questions that really make you think deeply about the topic. And most importantly, hopefully every student learns and grows. The biggest thing I want you to keep in mind is that when you are replying to other students, the purpose is not to critique. To critique means to evaluate, assess, or criticize someone else's work. You are not grading the person's original post. That's my job. Your role is not to tell someone what they did right and what they did wrong or what they could improve on. Your focus should be continuing the science conversation and focusing on the science ideas being shared and discussing those with one another. Let's go over some tips for writing good responses to your classmates so you can get full credit. First, remember to respond to at least 2 classmates. You will not receive full credit if you only reply to one student's post. As you are trying to decide whose to comment on, or as you are figuring out what to say in your reply, be very careful to read their entire post and all of the comments. If someone else has already replied, that means the conversation has already started. So it's important to continue where the conversation left off. You shouldn't just ignore the comments of other students and only pay attention to the original poster. Remember, a discussion is a conversation between multiple people to share ideas. Pay attention to everyone who has spoken, not just the first person. Make sure that your reply is at least 2 to 3 sentences that help to continue the science conversation. And most importantly, make sure there is no fluff in your reply. When I say fluff, I mean that fluff is usually writing stuff just to take up space, making a post look bigger. It may also sound nice, but it does not productively add to the conversation. I'll give some more specific examples later, but avoid fluff. Everything you post should have a purpose, which should be to continue sharing science ideas. For this specific discussion, a great way to contribute to someone's post is to read it carefully and offer up some of your own ideas to answer the 3 questions. Maybe you have an idea or two that no other students have thought of already, such as another reason why the rail system is so groundbreaking, or why it will take so long, or reasons why other states should or shouldn't wait to make their own rail systems. If you can't think of a new idea to add, or if someone else has already shared that idea in their own reply, maybe you could try asking some questions instead. Make sure that your questions focus on the science. If you ask a question that is irrelevant or doesn't matter when it comes to talking about this rail system, you don't get credit because you aren't focused on the science. The best way to do this is to offer up a piece of related information and then follow it up with a question. Here's an example. Another reason why other states should wait to build their own rail systems is blank. Do you think that parts of Michigan would be a good place to build a rail system? My idea is blank. You can also disagree with what the original poster or another student replying wrote. Maybe they included some information that you don't think is right, or maybe you have the opposite opinion. Explain what you disagree with and why you disagree. Support your stance. Remember that it is also a good idea to respond to another student commenter, not just to the student who originally posted. If the person who commented before you had an interesting suggestion or reply, you could reply to that person. If you disagree with their idea or have a suggestion of your own to add that was inspired by their comment. Or maybe the person before you asked a question and you have an answer to that question. Feel free to make comments and ask questions of other students who are a part of the conversation, not just the person who started the conversation. The main point is that when you comment on the posts of other students, you are trying to continue the science conversation. Keep the talk going. Discuss ideas with each other and grow in your learning. Let's go over some examples of what not to do when replying to other students. One thing that a lot of students do is just restate what other people have already said. By doing this, you would not be adding anything new to the conversation and doesn't show original thought. The following are also comments to avoid. Good job or good idea. I agree with you when you said blah, blah, blah. I like what you wrote when you said blah, blah, blah. These are not strong replies because they're just fluff. That's great that you want to encourage your classmates, but remember that your job is not to critique and tell them what they did well on. Your job is to continue the science conversation. If that is all you say, you aren't adding ideas to continue the science conversation. These kinds of responses will earn you very few points. Also, sometimes students will say something like, you need to fix your spelling, punctuation, and grammar. This may be a fact, but it would be better to not say anything since some students struggle with writing and are just trying their best. Instead, you need to talk about the science of what they wrote and comment on those scientific ideas. Sometimes there are students who make an original post and they didn't follow directions, or they need to add a lot more information to their post in order to follow all of the directions. It may be tempting to just tell them this, but that also means that you are not participating in a productive science conversation. Instead of telling them that they didn't do what they needed to do, just choose another post to comment on. Let me handle the students who don't follow directions. Instead, find a student who did follow directions so that you can contribute to a productive science conversation. Now it's time to reply to the posts of 2 other students. You can see the list of conversations there. It might look something like this, but probably with a lot more posts from students. To read a post, click the title of it, which will be underlined on the left, like a link. You can also see the number of replies that the post already has. Here, it is 0. Please try to choose a post that has either 0, 1 or 2 replies. Please do not choose one that already has 3 or more, since it gets harder to come up with new ideas and things to add. Once you click on a conversation, you can see the original post and any comments, and then a box will be below it. Here, if you choose, you can type in your response to what the student posted, or respond to another student who commented on the post. Click Post Reply when you are finished. There's no need to add attachments, so ignore that. Remember to reply to 2 different posts. You do not need to comment on the very first post that you see. You can choose to skip around and read many and then just choose the 2 that you would like to reply to based on what you think you can say. Here is the middle school science discussion rubric. Your responses to other students are worth 5 points total. For full credit, you must respond to at least 2 classmates' postings with thoughtful, meaningful, constructive comments that contribute to the interactivity of the discussion. If you do not reply to enough students, or if your replies do not add to the discussion, you will not receive full credit.